Today on the Engage for Tech podcast, we're going to be talking to Stig Fisker, who's head of AI at Cognizant. We're going to be taking a step back from AI automation and the likes of ChatGPT and Gemini and taking more of a look into how tech and AI can be used for good. So without further ado, let's get into it. Hey Stig, it's great to have you on the Engage for Tech podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thanks. You all well?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Let's jump straight into it then, because you're head of AI at Cognizant, which is a tech for good company. But to people like me who use AI for automation, use large language models like ChatGPT, Gemini, etc., we don't really know what AI does in terms of tech for good. Could you
hmm
potentially just run me through what it means?
Sure, absolutely. So, in the context that we're talking about, it means helping real-world applications. So it could be water, it could be industries using any kind of physical presence, and let's face it, most things are still physical.
Yeah,
Thank God. It means helping them operating differently while at the same time leaving a better imprint on our planet. So that's basically what we do. And we use AI for advanced operations, but also to understand how we affect the world around us. So
sure.
there is not really a doing well by doing good. It's not they go really well together. It's just that hasn't been easy before to do that. Now it's becoming increasingly much more accessible for people to use AI in that regard.
Sure. And there's so much hype around AI automation for the creative process at the moment. But in terms of AI for good, what we're talking about now, what do you think we're potentially missing when we're talking about this topic?
Well, I think honestly, in the context of that, I think systemic change is something people don't focus about. They focus on these point solutions. They focus about that little thing they want to automate or make it easier. And honestly, being humans, we have a tendency to do whatever is in front of us, and maybe we're a little bit lazy.
Yeah,
I don't think if you're writing too long emails and someone needs to use AI to summarize that for you, maybe just shorten down your emails.
yeah,
Maybe better use of energy, maybe better use of compute as well.
yeah,
So it's more about thinking a little bit bigger, coming together. A lot of the times it's also about partnering across industries. You don't solve anything in isolation, nor does AI work in isolation.
mm,
So that's what I'm missing these days. Pulling in also researchers and people who really know their stuff in the terms of how does actually things work. SMEs of any kind is key, and
yeah.
then building that a little bit audaciously together, having some ambitions beyond just doing a small little quirk that's saving you 2 minutes a day.
Yeah, I think you're so right. And you touched upon energy there.
hmm
What are your thoughts on the amount of energy that the likes of ChatGPT is actually taking to run?
Well, it's staggering, right? It's going to be more and more. And if you follow the headlines and the news of big tech, you'll see that they're doing quite a big of moves around energy these days,
Yeah,
working closely with energy companies as well. It's nothing really new, but they have different I would say different policies and different ways of thinking about how they make that impact. Some of them just buy whatever and might be even coal energy,
yeah,
and some of them are more into nudging to renewable. So when they do purchase that energy, they make sure that there are new sources of energy of coming. They're fostering innovation also in energy,
hmm,
helping out even on the grid access, which is kind of a problem in all of this. Even if you create a lot of energy, people can't transfer it through the old grids we have.
yeah,
Nowhere is that more apparent than in Europe, where the grid is most places more than 40 years old.
hmm,
Uh, but I think in the grand scheme of things, again, back to not using AI for summarizing your emails, but using it for the right things where it has better impact in a 360 way of thinking.
Yeah.
then I think you can defend the energy usage because it will help in the grander scheme of things. Also in creating new renewable sources and creating energy which has less impact because we can use AI for that, and that's in fact what we're doing today.
Yeah.
So again, thinking holistically and systemically around things helps. I think personally also there's a lot of maybe we should use a little bit less AI for entertainment purposes and maybe a little bit more for industrial purposes,
Yeah.
where the imprint is lasting, the uplift is bigger,
Yeah.
ramming down CO2, ramming down or less footprint in nature, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
So again, it's the way we think. But in energy in general, there are also periods where so the really heavy energy consumption around AI is when you train models. That's when it becomes
Yes.
really heavy. And there are periods, at least where I live, where there is a surplus of energy. Since we have renewable sources, there's a surplus of sun and wind at some points in time. So
Hmm.
if they're better at, and in fact, I'm working with one of the hyperscalers that they're already leaning to that. They will use those periods where there's a surplus in production to
Yeah.
train their models. So the CO2 consumption goes down, and the penalty to everyone else using electricity as well will go down.
And it's more sustainable then as well.
Indeed.
So, Cognizant is a water company. So, I'm
Hmm.
really interested to discover how AI is currently being used to improve water access, quality, and even distribution in the world at the moment.
Sure. So right now, one of the biggest projects we have in the water space, I mean, I say that my title is fancy enough. I'm global head of Cognizant Ocean, so definitely some water going on there in the oceans in general. But on land and freshwater, well, our biggest work right now is in the UK, where you're located, and um it's about understanding in granular understanding why is the water bodies of the UK polluted.
Mm.
And in order to do that, we have received quite a lot of funding from your regulators
Hmm.
and working together with the industry. And we're about to release the first open source version of this now in May, in fact,
Yeah.
as we're speaking. And we've been able to identify through AI which sources of pollution is contributing to this bad environment that we have. Which sewage is leaking, which farm is having off running from cattle, which chicken farm is producing ammonia and that runs directly into the rivers. What kind of urban setup do we have that creates so much runoff that it goes into the river? And the truth of the matter is that it's all a very complicated piece that comes together. It's a big puzzle. No
Yeah.
one's singularly to blame, and no one's singularly either fixing it. So bringing that picture together, making sure that we can measure at scale and spot granularly where the things are coming from. That's what we're doing. And we're in the phase now where this is going to industrialization, to production. I really hope it will change the way we understand what we're doing with our water bodies. I
Yeah.
hope it also has ramifications on how we understand biodiversity, because there is a connection as
Yeah.
we kill off everything around the rivers and then our farmlands and nature, there will be more pollution. So there is a connection between that. We've been so fortunate to work with some really good partners, and we have a really good team ourselves. So we have now models that have 70 to 85% confidence on measuring around 20 pollutants in the water,
Yeah. Yeah.
sourcing where they are from. And we didn't think we could do this, but we're also able to now measure and forecast E. coli. E. coli being a bacteria, not a pollutant.
Wow.
Normally, you would have to bring E. coli back to the lab, so grab a glass of water, hope that that's the right place,
Yeah.
bring it back to a lab, grow 3 to 7 days, growing the culture, and then measure it. And then you go back to yourself and tell you, oh, where you were bathing just a few weeks ago, there was an E. coli outbreak. I have no idea what's there now.
Yeah.
So we're doing this by use means of artificial intelligence now, and can tell you, and hopefully that can service UK citizens by giving them text messages or any kind of other warning saying there's an outbreak and it's very likely happening right now.
So AI is the identification tool, and
Yeah,
then
there's a
it's up
yeah.
to humans, us, to actually do something about it. Is that right?
Yes, it's still very much like that. It always will be until we have, the dreaded all-knowing AI physically representing walking on Earth. We need
Yeah.
to take action. We're working on that side of the things as well.
Okay.
So obviously now we know to a good degree where the pollution is coming from, what's the real at scale water quality, not just a pinpoint where someone happened to put a sensor.
Yeah.
But you already knew that your water bodies were messed up. You already knew that you could see that visible by eye.
Yeah.
You could see it,
Yeah.
you go bathing and you get bathing and you get sick. But
Yeah.
so how do we move from knowing where, which is part of how you solve for it? So we're now working on that as well. So how can we simulate solutions in nature, in nearby rivers, in rivers, and then fast forward time, because it's not like you put a solution in and then in minutes it will start working.
Mm.
It might take 3 to 5 years before you start to see the results. So we
Okay.
created solutions using AI again and simulations that will fast forward time and tell you something about the uptake of nutrition, the uptake of breaking down pollutions, phosphorus, other things. And is this a suitable place and a suitable solution to do that economically, socially, and environmentally?
Sure.
That's pretty cool. So that's work in progress,
Yeah.
but it's really needed because knowing that it's dirty is, yeah, we're still at square one.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. It's the yeah, like you say, we are still at square one. It's still up to us to actually do something about it.
Indeed.
But how does the AI actually know where when there is a pollutant then?
Oh, that's incredibly complicated, but I'll try to
Yeah.
break it down in a like a high level way. So we use a combination of where satellites, so from space, is incredibly important. We're using multispectral analytics, so understanding it breaks down. So you have basically things give different reflections from light, and those reflections are measured through satellite. So nothing is visible for the human eye. Then we overlay that with a lot of the surrounding conditions that's given, temperature, turbidity, what it may be. There's so many factors you wouldn't believe it.
Mm.
And then, of course, we ground this with drone fly hours, so much more closer observations and sensors that are put into the rivers. Now, the problem with the sensors are they just measure that single point, not a whole river.
Yeah.
So we need to correlate those, and that's what we do. So we balance them. So we always check that the model and the AI is actually truthful to the real world and the actual conditions in the river. And then there's lots of citizen sampling as well. Thanks. I mean, people are really diligent and helping out.
Yeah.
And then still there's a regime of manual sampling as well, mandated by your authorities. So that's how we do this. We use tremendous amounts of data at
Hmm.
any given point of time. So historical data is very important. Weather data is very important. Ground and soil data, all of those things factor into this. And of course, again, if we know there is farms nearby that use a certain type of vegetation, a certain type of things that they use to artificially grow their vegetables, stuff like that, then and we can measure that as well. We know what effect that will have in the water. So it's all tied together. That's what I meant by being holistic, looking at this systemically.
Yeah. Of
It's
course.
not, and I know from headlines and from and it's also a factor, of course, a big factor is sewage overspill, and that's something we measure and closely watch
Hmm.
and look out for. But that's just part of the picture. Again, there's so much more complicated things playing into this ecosystem. Yeah, so that's how high level how it works.
Sure. So, who do you think actually benefits the most out of these innovations? Then, do you think it's the government in charge?
Well, ultimately, I think I hope it's us, all of us.
Yeah.
But But it's a combination. So unfortunately, I would say that the governments are usually the last one to run ahead and figure out new ways of doing things.
Yeah.
So the ones we partner with, although very often and in the UK specifically supported by the governments, it is the industry itself. They are regulated, they have compliance they have to follow, and often they get blame. Sometimes it's correct blame, sometimes it's incorrect blame
Yeah.
for what's happening. But we partner with the industry so that they can keep doing what they need to do, ultimately creating, drinking water for you and making sure that what you flush out of your house gets cleaned up,
Yeah.
which is a incredibly important service for you. And if that vanishes tomorrow, you'll all be suffering. So partnering closely with them, aligning with their compliance, and then looking beyond like the immediate need that the industry needs to deliver. But there's no shortage of industries understanding that if they keep exploiting and not balancing what they're doing, then they won't have anything in 10 years to live off. So
Yeah.
that's not really a problem. It's more about how do I go about addressing this in a practical, tangible way. That's been really hard. And that's why it's so fun to work with this because the ramifications are much, much larger than that one company.
Of course, yeah. So we've spoken a lot about water there, but are there other environmental threats that AI helps to assist and detects before it actually happens?
Yes, absolutely. So wildfires has been a theme in other countries lately.
Yeah.
So, of course, in parts of the US, Australia, we can use AI to understand the risk and also start forecasting when it's very likely to happen,
Mhm.
observing it also again from space when it's happening. So, there are even parties that have been set out special satellites to detect wildfires. So that's happening using AI again to do the detection. We have also lately we've worked in a project in south of the states where we're using AI to predict the ramifications of hurricanes and other extreme events because they are becoming more and more common. They have bigger and bigger volatility around them and ramifications as climate will keep changing and getting different from what it is today. So we're using AI to understand where's the storms going to hit, what's there in critical infrastructure, energy, water, a hospital, whatever it may be. How can we prepare for it? How can we build differently? And how can we easily and fast recover? So what do we need of people that we can keep nearby but safe out of harm
Yeah.
in a safe house, whatever it may be, and also have prepared the supply chain so that we have the spare parts needing to repair transmissions, water pipes, hospitals, whatever it is. So those things we're working with as well. It's come quite far, and I'm eager to get more people to use these tools and really do it at scale. And again, we're doing this with the industries, not with the governments. The governments will
Yeah.
hopefully latch on as they see that this matures and becomes more of a. They're not very good at ideation and forefront thinking. The
Mhm.
pains is really felt in the industries themselves
Yeah.
as they get fines when electricity doesn't recover or leaks are being done and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's where we're working. But yeah, it's multiple ramifications around the world. We also have using AI to understand how shipping and ocean-going vessels can pollute less.
Oh,
So
well.
lower emissions from the ships itself, but also how can they do different ways of operation so they don't hurt the ocean the same way. Just simple things like mapping, here's an endangered species, don't go there. It could
Yeah.
be a simple thing, right? It doesn't always have to be these very fancy things that I'm talking about. It could be simple stuff as well. But it just in the ramification of a whole world, it's still pretty big for one person to take in and map out all that stuff.
Yeah, definitely. So it's protecting whole ecosystems then, isn't it, really?
Essentially, yeah. Essentially, yeah. We're even in the game of together with our partners, and I'll call out specifically Google here. We're in the game of how can we go. They released tools that help us do very accurate weather prediction 9 days ahead of time. Now we're going into the motion of 50 days, and how can we go into understanding where it's going to rain in the future? Where
Wow.
is it going to? Yeah, because water is going to be, or it's already starting to be, the thing we're fighting over.
Yeah.
Some people have too much of it, and some most of us have too little of it when we need it.
Yeah.
And when we build infrastructure, water pipes, wildfires, all of those things, we need to know where it's going to rain and stuff in the future. And we're even looking into that. That's above the horizon right now,
Yeah.
but that's the kind of thinking we're on a path of doing. Yeah.
Wow. 50 days is a long time.
It is. It is. Imagine how you can plan your holiday differently then, huh?
Yeah, yeah. Would you plan a day different? Wouldn't you? That is, yeah, that's pretty crazy to me. Yeah, personally, I'd have no idea how you go about doing that as well. It's
No, and the really hard crux of that is the regular supercomputer forecasting that the world have been using now. They use history and statistical models to do that.
crazy.
But as climate is rapidly changing, history doesn't really tell us what's going to happen.
Yeah,
So that makes it very, very hard. And then when you go into forecasting 50 days or even 50 years, maybe at some point, how do you falsify that information? How do you check that what you're forecasting is even remotely near the truth because there's nothing to compare to? So yeah, that's it's really hard problems, really big problems, and that's why we're happy to partner with some really bright partners around the world to figure this out, and audacious partners, partners that really think above the horizon. And then we have the industries that we work with and the clients that essentially they're giving us a chance to walk into ambiguity on something that hasn't been made yet.
yeah,
Right? A lot of the technology in some way or shape may get you 70% there, something like that. So it's not all risk, but it's still forefront technology. And then we need to apply and change and do research. We do a lot of R&D to get to the last 30%.
sure. So we've spoken a lot about systemic change there. How does this correlate to industry change as well? For example, how is AI protecting value chains for companies?
That's a good question and a very apt one these days. We're working on that, and we work a lot in global shipping, and that is the backbone of trade and the supply chains.
Yeah,
So it's again using history, using leading signals is very important. So when we see that there's fog in Shanghai, what does that mean for your factory that's producing cars?
mm,
Well, the parts are going to be X days delayed. How can we prepare for that? So
yeah,
that kind of thinking is something we're working also a lot with. And our most audacious idea around that is twofold. It's giving every part of the supply chain, so a factory, a truck, a vessel, give them agency so they actually can understand the world they operate
yeah,
in a digital sense and start talking together like agents
yeah,
so they can start informing each other. So imagine if the factory has a strike or there is a outage, they can inform all the things down the line that this is what's happening with me. How would you like to, react to that? And they talk together without any human intervention whatsoever.
wow,
And that changes the way you actually interact with your whole supply chain.
yeah,
Truly believe that's the way forward in the context of supply chain. But again, early days. But together with again partners, we're getting those leading signals on what's going on in the world. So we're using LLMs to understand the factory is shutting out, down. I picked that up on news, whatever it is, or the weather forecast is telling me this.
yeah,
And then we are using LLMs to interpret that information to say, what does that mean for my supply chain, my factory, or my shop? So that's how we're thinking about this.
yeah, yeah. So for potential candidates out there that are looking to get into AI for good, tech for good, what would be your advice to them?
Oh, my advice would be first of all, understand your vertical, whatever you're interested in, because you have to align to something. You can't be an expert on the whole globe. That doesn't work.
Yeah,
Be a very good expert in for say marine biology, or be a really good expert in whatever vertical it might be, right? Food production, and
yeah,
then start thinking about that in terms of how I can use data how I can use what would be useful in a operational sense in that world.
Yeah.
Go into the world itself and look at how you can entangle yourself with the knowledge of an engineer or the knowledge of a data analyst or a knowledge of a data scientist. I don't think the future holds. It's not going to be quite as strict as we have it today for the future candidates. It's more ambiguity, more creativity, more getting the lines together. That's going to be key. It's
Yeah.
not going to be you're a data scientist and you have a PhD in math, so that's what you do. Well,
Mhm.
guess what? You need to go deeper than that even now.
Yeah, sure. And you need to have examples of what you've built before as well, I think, don't you?
Yeah, you do. And you have to be really clear that you can be good at communicating with the industries and or whatever player you're working with, so you can talk together with them and be a part of their problem and understand how you can apply something that will be able to live in real life.
Yeah.
Academics is academics still.
Yeah. And also talk in layman's terms and explain things in layman's
Very
terms.
much so,
I
yeah.
like
For a business person, so they understand the value of what you're doing. For a operational person, so they understand what this ramification will have for you, for them every day doing whatever they're doing. So that's the kind of translation and ideation person you have to be, and then turn over back and talk to your engineering partners on how
yeah,
do we make this coming, and then partner with SMEs, partner with smarter people than yourselves.
sure.
Always.
And if there's one key takeaway that you want our listeners to take away from this, what
Mhm.
would it be?
I think that the key takeaway is we can use AI for, personal benefits or for personal luxury or making money, and we should, to some extent, always think about those things as well. That's fine. It's human. It's also capitalism, but there's no stopping us doing the right thing while doing that as well. And AI can definitely be used in that context. And then maybe a takeaway is try to go on that side rather than the other side that we didn't discuss at all in this podcast.
I love that. Thank you so much for your time, Stig.
Thank you.